a certain time, so we are going, if you'd like, could you come up to the mic? Thank you. I'm going to suspend the agenda, and we're going to have a discussion of payroll discrepancies from 1213 through 1226. I want to be very clear that I have no intentions of talking about personal or personnel issues. But yesterday, you were there, I was handed 46 pages of documents, and in an attempt to keep the public informed of the administration, the public informed of this, I think I should ask as many questions as I can in public, and you can answer them however you see fit. If you see that, if you feel that they shouldn't be answered, clearly don't answer them. In these documents, there's a separation agreement.
Well, my understanding is that this was going to be done in closed session because I'm uncomfortable speaking about any potential litigation in public. I don't do that.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about litigation.
Then why am I here?
I want to ask questions about the investigation, but not, we may go into closed session.
Well, I'm not going to answer any questions unless we're in closed session. I'm telling you that right now.
Would you
And
be
I made that
comfortable-
clear yesterday.
They said they wouldn't answer any questions.
No, I said that too.
Oh,
And
I
my
did.
understanding was that was relayed to
Would you be
you,
comfortable
counsel.
answering questions about the JIF?
I'm not, no. Pardon me? No, because I was hired by Jeff. I will do it in closed session. I'm not doing it outside because my employment involves litigation or potential litigation or the hint of potential litigation. I'm not going to discuss that in public. If that's not satisfactory, then tell me now because I have other things to do.
Well, yeah, all right. Well, then thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks.
It could,
If you decide you want to really talk about this in closed session where I think that's appropriate, I'll do
I
it.
feel like there hasn't been, and it's not your fault, but there's been no transparency with the public or the council. And if we only discuss things in
Well,
closed session, it will continue.
I have a different position, different perspective, because I have an attorney-client privilege, and I intend to uphold that, so.
We're not your clients?
You are, but I'm not, well, you are the client, Hoboken is the client, and JIF is too. So they need to waive that privilege too, and I don't have any waiver like that. And again, I was told this would be done. I don't discuss anything about any case I have in public with anybody, not just this one, anyone. So, you know, as far as we're concerned.
Who at the JIF would be able to
Well,
give
you know
that
what?
waiver?
Why don't you talk to Mr. Aloya, because
right.
frankly, I'm done, okay?
Thank you. Mr. Aloya, who at the JIF would be able to give permission to waive that?
I can certainly follow up with the JIF, but in my opinion, no one can. It's a public entity. You can't waive that privilege. Yeah, technically the JIF is representing the city as a whole. While you're the representatives of the clients, no one's going to waive the attorney-client privilege and expose. The reason for the closed session is because the matter is litigation. It's potential litigation. It's the threat of litigation. So Mr. Lynch was hired to do an investigation to provide you feedback and the details.
Are you allowed to say when he was hired?
He was appointed by the JIF on or about the 8th, January 8th. The JIF was notified ahead of time, but you know, it's not like you just click your fingers. You call the JIF and you notify the JIF that we might have a potential problem, and then it takes a couple days.
So you notified the JIF in the beginning of January?
The JIF was notified after the council meeting, so it was after January
Right.
2nd. That's correct.
And you notified them because of potential, you've notified them because of potential litigation.
Sure. Yeah. Yep.
Why wouldn't the JIF be notified as soon as you knew there was potential litigation? Why would you have waited until after the council meeting?
Well, yeah, I think that's a closed session item. You're starting to get into details. Like I'd have to give you the facts of the case to answer the question.
I'm sorry, Council President?
Yeah. Yes? Who said that?
That's me.
Yes.
I am so confused. I presumed that this was in regards to what seemed to be an excessive payment for an employee that was no longer employed for quite some months with the city, and now I'm hearing litigation. So I'm confused. What litigation are we talking about?
Well, again, if we went to closed session, we can give you, Mr. Lynch
No,
is gone
sir.
now, but you can give.
I don't believe that's
Yes,
how
sir.
Okay, thank you. I'm asking a question under my legislative authority, and going into closed session when there's taxpayers and residents here, when I'm asking you, why was an employee on the payroll that was no longer employed with the city? That's not about litigation. That's about why this administration placed a political operative on the agenda for this council to vote on weeks to months after he was no longer with the city. It has nothing to do with lawsuit.
Corporation Counsel, I do appreciate you trying to answer what you can. Is there any reason, though, that Mr. Lynch, the attorney, do you know if he has done work for the JIF before?
I don't know all the work that he's done. No, I had no idea.
So you don't know if he's done any work at all?
This is the first time I ever met Mr. Lynch. So before this, I don't believe I've ever met him.
Does the city of Hoboken appoint the people to the JIF that they want to represent
They just
them?
have lists of attorneys.
And we get to select, or the JIF selects?
I'd say both. If you want to add to it, you can certainly add to it.
So was Mr. Lynch selected by the city or by the JIF?
I recommended Mr. Lynch. I'm not sure if he was already approved or not.
And I guess just going back, can I jump in?
Yes,
On one
please.
question? So going back, so we know a situation started a while back, and we understand that there was concern about litigation a while back. So I think to the question that Councilman Giattino started, you made the statement that when we have a threat of litigation, when we're concerned about litigation, we let the JIF know and we get counsel. Have we followed that policy this entire time as it relates to this situation?
Again, I could answer that question with facts, but I can't
Just a
discuss
fact.
this.
You don't have to, it's just a fact. Did we give,
I believe that all policies were followed. I can say that.
what'd you say?
I believe that all policies were followed. I can say that.
Councilman Royce, you want to have a question? I find that hard to believe.
Oh, he's chomping at the bit.
Council President, I have a
Yeah.
question, and it just came up with the comment that Mr. Aloya just made. So you recommended the attorney Lynch, but you don't know him? You mentioned that you didn't know him or the firm.
That's correct. There was another attorney. I believe I have notes upstairs, but there was an attorney that was contacted to see if that attorney could do the representation, and Mr. Lynch's name was recommended. So I took that recommendation.
Without knowing him personally, because you do actually like to try and have the attorney from the firm do this kind of work. Was there any kind of due diligence done in hiring Mr. Lynch?
Well, the JIF does that, actually. The JIF qualifies everybody, so you can't just hire anybody. The JIF actually does I would describe it as a background check, but I can't, that's my interpretation of it.
Could you find out for us, I know that Mr. Lynch is a criminal defense attorney, if has he ever done any kind of labor defense before? I'm not asking you to know that off the top of your head, but I think that's something that would be beneficial for all of us. Any other council members?
Statement.
Yeah.
Just the files are provided to you, Council President, can they provide it to the rest of the members of the council? Can we do
Yes.
that, please?
Mr. Loya, and he did ask me yesterday if I wanted everyone to have them. I said if they ask for them, they are more than welcome. I don't know why I would have any authority over that anyway, but thank you for that. So if anyone wants them, if you could just email Brian.
Thank you.
All right, on to fun things.
Wait,
Oh,
listen, I think the missing piece here, and I think it's a yes or no answer, is prior to notifying the JIF this time, was there a concern at all that there was potential litigation relating to this employee? And the answer, you've already said this to various people, is yes. And so if it's yes, and it was prior to notifying the JIF on January 7th to get this attorney, why wasn't the JIF notified when you thought there was potential litigation previously? Why did you wait until January 7th and not back at the
You're
end of
asking me
last year?
questions that should be answered in closed session.
It's not a closed session. This is,
Oh, well, I'm not answering the question because I believe it is. This has to do with litigation. I can't answer.
well, it
You-
has to
you
do with
answered-
litigation
you said you were
now.
asking a yes or no
It has to
question.
lit-
You answered your own question.
For
and now you're asking
everyone's,
facts.
right, for the public's benefit, what's frustrating about this is we're trying to figure out if, we're trying to decide, are we erring on the side of transparency or are we erring on the side of what feels like a cover-up? And it is very incredibly frustrating. So now conveniently, we have a lawyer, because we're concerned about litigation risks, that didn't exist when we raised this issue at the last meeting. And so now because of that, we are unable to ask questions in the public. So the public can decide how they want to interpret it, but it is pretty damn frustrating. And we are frustrated. And when we go into closed session and they walk us through the situation, we are suddenly unable to talk about it in the public. So we are resisting the public or the closed session because there should be an element of transparency to this that is not happening. So now, we go on.
Thank you, Councilwoman.